Facing a blank timeline is probably the most difficult part of editing a trailer. The easiest way for me to get past this hump is with text descriptions for what I want to happen in each section. Hi, I'm Derek Lieu, I make indie game trailers, and this is Video Game Trailer Academy, a series of videos to help you make better game trailers. Just like written compositions start with an outline, you can do the same with a trailer. When working on a trailer for a game or movie, it's very difficult to organize the narrative structure when you start with the individual shots. I think this is what frequently leads to trailers with haphazardly cut together clips and scenes, which don't flow into each other or have an overall structure. The answer is to start with an outline to map out the timeline's high-level ideas. I do this by filling my timeline with text descriptors for each section of the trailer. This gives me a very general feel for the trailer's structure, and for how long each section needs to be. The descriptors I use in these outlines vary in specificity based on the project I'm working on. At the most abstract level, the text descriptors looked like this: exciting opening, logos, introduction of ideas, building on the ideas, montage of the coolest stuff, title card, and one more thing: final end slate, call to action, etc. This might not seem like much to start a trailer, but the mere fact it gives you something to put into that imposing blank timeline is huge. This is similar to how scriptwriters use note cards arranged on a wall or table to outline the story before diving into the dialogue and scene direction. Looking at the raw footage with no outline or constraints is like doing a word search with no word list. Yes, you might find something, but your eyes look with more purpose when they have something specific in mind. With even these general sections in mind, you won't just look at a piece of footage wondering where it will go in the trailer. You'll wonder, which specific section might this shot fit into? The text descriptors give you design goals and constraints, which guides the editing and game capture. When you have a goal for a shot, it becomes plainly obvious if something you're looking at doesn't align with it. For example, if making a trailer for the original Super Mario Bros., basic jumping from level 1-1 probably wouldn't be the best fit for a section labeled Exciting Opening. Not all of my trailers follow this exact format, but they are all pretty close. With this basic outline, I can then make a more detailed outline with specifics. The way to do this is to take the high-level goal and ask questions. So for the exciting opening, I think of this section of the trailer like the abilities concept commonly found in Metroid games, where in the opening of the game, you're fully powered up, and then after a fun intro, it's all taken away from you, and you're forced to gradually reacquire each of those power-ups. When trying to find a good clip to use for an opening, I ask myself questions like, what section of the game is the most visually striking? What player verbs are the most kinetic? What joke in the game is short and funny? What scene in the game posits an interesting question? Either of these could be used as a placeholder title card for the opening sequence. The more specific, the better, especially if working with someone who is doing game capture for you. For my Spelunky 2 trailer, an exciting moment meant using a jetpack/shotgun combo in a treacherous biome with lots of new enemy types. Introduction of ideas. This section is like the opposite of the opening. It might even be a little bit boring because of how basic it is, but depending on the game, it's probably necessary in order to show the audience enough that they'll understand the really cool stuff later in the trailer. Questions to ask yourself for this section. What are the first things the player learns to do? What player verbs are fundamental to the core game loop? How do these verbs build upon each other? What is happening in the story? Who are the characters and what do they want? It's good to get through this section as quickly as you can so you don't bore the audience too much, but think of it as laying the necessary groundwork. Building on ideas. This section is all about introducing complications. Maybe the game puts the player in scenarios which will test their ability to master their core abilities, or test the protagonist's very being. Some questions for this section. What is an area where things increase in difficulty? What section of the game tests the player's abilities? What complications occur in the story? What goes wrong for the protagonist? This section is oftentimes the longest because once the game introduces ideas, it'll likely want to put you through a wide variety of interesting scenarios, which will be fun to play through. Story-wise, the characters' struggles and efforts to overcome will also be at least half the entire game. Montage of the coolest stuff. Finally, this is the fun part where the trailer can be a little bit all over the place with its variety of gameplay scenarios, level types, enemies, boss battles, and the biggest and flashiest visuals. Questions for the climax. What are the most impressive visuals in the game? What parts of the game contrast the most from each other? What looks like the most difficult part of the game? What story beat creates uncertainty for the character's future? What unresolved story setup will be enticing to see more of? What mysterious thing will inspire curiosity? The climax can do a lot of things to build excitement, but it's fundamentally about presenting a lot of cool scenarios, mysterious story details, suspenseful beats, and visuals which contrast so much you wonder how the heck they can connect in one game. For example, most of the trailer for Inception has no snow, but towards the end of the trailer we get a few shots in the snow. That looks like a big leap when cut together with scenes none of which are in the winter. The audience can't help but wonder, how did these snowy scenes connect with the other scenes? And one more thing. The button or stinger is the one last thing to tease the audience. A lot of times it's the biggest and most striking thing in the game, like a giant dragon roaring into the camera, or a massive stunt the player has to overcome, or a final joke which is funny on its own, but feels like it's riffing off of everything we just saw in the trailer.
My little booty! Oh no.
Some questions to ask. What is a funny way to end the trailer? What is a huge, impressive thing not shown in the body of the trailer? What is something fans expected to see in the trailer and will keep watching just in case it shows up? The G-Man in the Half-Life Alyx trailer definitely falls into the category of, you wanted to see this, didn't you? This is just a basic framework to help you plan out the structure of your trailer. Of course, every game is different, so it's up to you to find the things specific to your game which fulfill these sections. Or maybe you'll find a different structure which uniquely works for your game. Either way, start with ideas, and then find or create the shots which evoke them. If you're wondering whether or not the structure of your trailer is sound, read your section descriptors out loud from beginning to end to check whether or not its progression makes sense. I send out game trailer making tips like this every Sunday via my mailing list, so if you'd like more, please subscribe at GameTrailerTips.com. As always, thanks to my top Patreon supporters who help me make more videos like this. Links to all the trailers in this video are located down below.